Welcome to Flip-A-Clip, a frame-by-frame animation app. I'm going to guide you through the features on this app. First, start out by clicking the pink plus icon on the bottom of the screen. We can name our animation whatever we'd like. I'll stick with tutorial for now. Under background, there's 4 icons that let us select what background we want our animation to have. The leftmost one, the one that looks like a bookmark, takes us to a gallery of backgrounds provided by the app. The paint bucket icon next to it lets us fill the entire background a certain color. The next one, the gallery, lets us choose a picture from our photo library. And the last one gives us the option to take a picture to set as the background. We can change this later. We're going to leave the canvas size alone, but you can change that to match whatever platform you want to post this on, if you plan to do so. Keep in mind, you can't change this later. The FPS, frames per second, is pretty self-explanatory. We can choose how many frames we want to play per second. You're welcome to experiment with this as much as you wish, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll stick with 9 for now. Entering our new project, there's a lot of features we have to go through. Let's start with the sidebar on the left. Clicking on the pen, this gives us 3 options. Click the pen again, and it'll show us the different brushes we have. The pen, the pencil, the paintbrush, and the highlighter. Going back to the pen here, the circle right under it is the size. Drag and hold it to change the brush size. Under that is a square. Clicking on that will let us change the color. The slide here controls the opacity. Going back to the main sidebar, click on the eraser. The first circle controls the size of the eraser. The second circle controls how sharp the edges of it are. And the square controls the opacity. Now, click the circle tool. We can use it to circle a shape that we've drawn. Looking to the right, there's now another sidebar. The first icon flips the image sideways. The second one flips it upside down. This little circle here is the point that the shape reflects across. We can also select only part of the shape. The third icon just deletes the shape. The fill tool fills a shape with a certain color. The square determines the color, and the percentage controls the threshold, or how close to the edge of the shape the color will get. We're going to stick with about 70%. The last tool on our sidebar is the text tool. The first square is the font. The second square is the size. And the third square is the color. We can also manipulate and flip the text, just like we did with the select tool. On the top, we have a ruler tool with 3 types of rulers: a regular one, an ellipses one, and a rectangular one. Use the little square in the middle to move it, and the circles to adjust the size and direction. Next to the ruler, there's a copy tool. If we select a shape or some text, we can copy it. Now we can use the tool next to it, which is the paste tool. The arrows are the undo and redo buttons, and the double arrow will reset the page, like so. The bottom right icon shows us our layers. We can have up to 3 layers for free, but you have to pay if you want more. We can reorder the layers, change the opacity, delete, and lock them. The numbered slides at the bottom are our frames. Since Flip-a-Clip is a frame-by-frame animation app, it works kind of like a flipbook. The slides are played at a certain speed, which is the FPS we decided earlier, and that creates the animation. The play button will start to play the animation, and the double arrow on the left will take you all the way to the first frame, and the double arrow on the right will take you all the way to the last one. The music icon on the bottom left lets you edit in music. Clicking the 3 dots on the top right gives us a variety of options. The project settings let us change the name, background, and FPS. Notice we can no longer change the canvas size, like I said earlier. The Frames viewer gives us a grid-like view of all of our frames. If you press and hold on a frame, you can add an empty frame to either side of it, delete it, or upload it. You can also copy and paste the frame on either side of the original or any other frame. In the 2 icons in the top right, the left one selects every frame at once, and the other one lets us add a blank frame wherever we want. We're going to leave the onion on. It lets us see what we drew on the previous frame. The grid just overlays a grid onto the frame, and the last 2 options let you import a photo or video. Now, we're going to be making a very simple animation. We're going to draw a wastebasket here and a wad of paper that'll be thrown into it. First, I want this basket to be in every frame in the same spot. So instead of redrawing it every time, let's copy this slide and paste it a few times. Going back to the paper, notice I drew on a different layer. Since we want the paper to follow an arc and hit the basket, this is where the onion will come into use. Since we can see what we drew on the previous layer, we can make sure that the paper follows an arc. Rather than redrawing the paper every time, though we could definitely do that, I'm going to select it and move it a little bit every time. Now that we're done drawing, let's see what this looks like. We might want to touch it up a bit or change some of it up entirely, but for now, this is good. Going back to the FPS, we can change the speed of how many frames get shown per second. There's no optimum FPS. It entirely depends on the type of animation or animatic you're doing and how many frames you've drawn. That's the basics of Flip a Clip. I hope you all enjoyed this tutorial and have fun.